Have you ever had that feeling? You know, that little whisper, that gut instinct telling you something's just not quite right, even when everything looks, well, perfect.
Oh, absolutely. That sense that something is maybe too good to be true.
Exactly. And sometimes the biggest dangers, they aren't the ones we actively try to keep out.
No, sometimes they're the ones we actually invite in ourselves.
That tension, that kind of inner conflict, it's fundamentally human, isn't it?
It really is. That push and pull between wanting connection and that deeper instinct for self-preservation, it's often where vulnerability creeps in.
And that complex human dilemma is precisely what we're getting into today. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Yeah, today we're immersing ourselves in Lisa Jewell's psychological thriller, Don't Let 'Em In.
It's a story that just masterfully weaves together, suspense, secrets, and this really terrifying idea of a past that just won't stay buried.
Mm-hmm. So our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack the layers of this narrative. We want to explore the psychological manipulation that's really at the heart of it.
And pull out those key insights about, well, human vulnerability and what happens when we ignore our intuition.
Right. And we're basing all this on the excerpts provided from the book summary.
Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. We meet Clara Finch. She's recently divorced, a single mom.
Right, and she's trying to make a fresh start. She moves into this pretty English countryside cottage with her son Milo, who's 12.
You can picture it, right? Hopeful new beginning, trying to escape a controlling past maybe, looking for some peace.
But Jules starts planting these little seeds of unease almost immediately. It's not all idyllic.
No, because then the quote-unquote perfect stranger shows up. James Hawthorne moves in next door.
And the summary describes him as, handsome, polite, charming.
Seems ideal, basically. He quickly befriends Clara. To her, he looks like the perfect neighbor.
But here's where it gets interesting, like you said. Almost right away, there's this counterpoint.
Milo, her son. His immediate, visceral distrust of James. It's instant.
Yeah, he starts having nightmares, claims he sees a man staring through the window.
What do you think the effect is? Introducing that child's instinct so early, before Clara even suspects anything.
Well, it's incredibly effective, isn't it? Milo kind of represents this pure intuition.
Untouched by adult baggage.
Exactly. His perception isn't clouded by, loneliness or past hurts like Clara's might be.
Yeah.
It immediately creates this friction.
Between the mom wanting this fresh start, this connection.
And the child just sensing danger on a really primal level.
Right. And despite Milo's feelings, his unease, Clara jumps into a relationship with James.
She's craving that companionship, that stability perhaps.
Yeah.
And James seems to offer it.
He's attentive, thoughtful, seems protective, checks all the boxes,
Yeah, superficially. But if you're looking closely, the narrative invites us to, the cracks start showing.
Okay, like what?
Well, he says he's a writer, right? But apparently he never actually writes. He has zero social media presence, which is, unusual these days. No family photos around.
And he deflects questions about his past.
Constantly. He just kind of steers the conversation away. These aren't just quirks.
No, they feel like red flags. Classic manipulator stuff.
Exactly. Building an illusion. And it shows how easily we can overlook these signs when we're, emotionally invested or needy.
Like Clara, wanting security, wanting connection. It clouds her judgment.
Totally. Which brings us to Eliza Rowe.
Ah, the neighbor. Clara's nosy neighbor.
And, crucially, a true crime blogger. So she's already got that investigative mindset.
She becomes the unofficial investigator here, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Her curiosity makes her start digging into James's background.
And what she finds is, it's pretty unsettling.
Okay.
She finds these striking similarities between James and a suspect in a cold case from 20 years ago.
Wow, okay. 20 years.
Yeah, involving a woman named Ruth Armitage who just vanished. Poof. Gone without a trace.
It really highlights how sometimes these old cases can resurface, maybe through someone just being persistent.
Definitely. Someone outside the official channels, even. Like Eliza.
So then Milo, her son, makes this huge discovery. He's still trusting his gut.
Right. He finds a locked box hidden in the garden shed James has been using.
And inside. What's inside?
It's really disturbing stuff. Old photos, a woman's ring.
Okay.
And a blood-stained scarf.
Oh, wow. Okay. The tension just ramps up massively there.
It really does. And this moment, it brings up a big question about how we handle information that clashes with what we want to believe.
Because Clara's reaction is, Well, it's denial.
Complete denial.
Okay.
She refuses to believe Milo, accuses him of snooping, says he's paranoid.
It's not just being stubborn, though. It's like you said, that cognitive dissonance thing.
Exactly. The physical evidence is right there, but it violently contradicts the reality she's built with James, the one she needs.
So she pushes it away. Because the truth is too uncomfortable, too dangerous.
Precisely. Which is incredibly risky when you're dealing with someone like James.
And he, the manipulator, he just seizes on that vulnerability, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. He uses that classic tactic. Isolation.
Right. He starts subtly encouraging her to cut ties.
Gets her to pull away from friends, even from Eliza, the one person asking questions.
And that isolation is key because it makes the gaslighting possible.
Exactly. That awful process where the abuser just twists the victim's reality bit by bit.
Makes them doubt their memory, their perception, even their own sanity.
It's this calculated stripping away of self-trust. Clara becomes totally dependent on James's version of things.
That psychological control is just...
Yeah.
It's so insidious. He doesn't need force.
No, he controls her mind, her reality. It's a terrifying blueprint for coercive control, showing how victims get trapped by their own eroded self-belief.
But the truth has to come out eventually, right?
Inevitably. Eliza, thankfully, doesn't give up. She contacts Detective Leo Marsden with her suspicions.
Okay, so the police get involved.
Yes. And this leads them to reopen the Ruth Armitage cold case.
And they find the connection.
They do. The shocking revelation, James isn't James. His real name is Oliver Hale.
And he was the last person seen with Ruth Armitage. So what finally breaks Clara's denial?
It's a combination of things. She overhears James on a phone call using a different name.
Ah, okay. Hard proof.
Yeah, and then the absolute worst happens. Milo goes missing during a storm.
Oh, God. That makes it immediate, personal. The stakes couldn't be higher.
Exactly. It forces her to face the truth she'd been avoiding.
So in this desperate search for Milo, she breaks into James's cottage.
And in the basement, she finds it. The confirmation.
What does she find?
A truly horrifying room. Filled with women's belongings, trophies maybe, newspaper clippings about missing women.
Oh, no.
And journals, disturbing journals detailing what he calls his corrections.
Corrections, what does that mean?
It's his twisted term for the women he targeted. Women he believed he had to save or punish.
That reveals the full horror, doesn't it? The methodical nature of it all.
Absolutely. It shows his deeply disturbed mindset, this pattern that went way beyond just Ruth Armitage. He had this internal logic, however warped, justifying his actions.
So then there's confrontation. James comes back.
Yes, he finds her there, in the room. It's incredibly tense.
But then help arrives.
Thankfully, yes. Just in time, Milo shows up with Detective Marsden.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Leading to James's arrest.
Right. But the story doesn't quite end there. There's that final chilling twist as he's being led away.
What does he say?
He looks at Clara and he says, "You let me in, just like the others."
Oof. That line just cuts right to the core of it, doesn't it?
It really does. It underlines the full revelation he'd been watching her for months. This wasn't random.
It was a pattern.
Yeah.
Targeting single women, infiltrating their lives, manipulating them.
Preying on their specific vulnerabilities until he could, well, harm them.
So the epilogue wraps things up a bit.
Yeah, it shows Clara and Milo trying to move on. They move to London.
In Eliza's blog.
It goes viral, which kind of highlights the role citizen investigators can play, you know? Bringing hidden things to light.
And Claire starts therapy. That feels important.
Crucial. A step towards healing, and she's determined, the summary says, never to ignore her instincts again.
But then there's that final scene.
Ah, yes. That really lingers, doesn't it? It gives you that sort of cyclical, unsettling feeling.
A new woman, a friendly knock on the door.
And the familiar voice saying, "Hi, I just moved in next door."
Oof. It's a disturbing reminder that for predators like him, the pattern just continues.
Yeah.
So with that really chilling image, the plot summary ends. But the deep dive isn't just about the plot, is it? What are the bigger takeaways here? The psychological stuff.
Right. If we step back, Don't Let Him In really shines a light on several key themes, I think.
Okay, like what?
Well, first, obviously, trust versus instinct. The story just brutally shows how we tend to ignore those red flags.
Yeah, we choose emotional comfort or what feels like security over that nagging gut feeling.
And Claire's journey is just this painful example of how badly that can go wrong.
It also really drives home the theme of isolation and vulnerability, doesn't it?
Definitely. It makes it so clear how abusers target people who are already isolated, emotionally or physically.
Makes them easier to control, easier to manipulate. Clara, Newtown, recently divorced. She was kind of the perfect target in that sense.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the gaslighting and psychological control we talked about. That's so central.
It's deeply disturbing, seeing how James just meticulously broke down Claire's reality.
Made her doubt herself, doubt her own son. It's a powerful look at how someone's self-trust can be completely eroded, leaving them dependent on the abuser's lies.
But on the flip side, there's the strength of the mother-child bond.
Yes. Milo's intuition, it's unwavering, and he plays such a vital role in exposing James and ultimately in their survival.
It's more than just a plot point. It feels like a commentary on that pure, maybe unspoken understanding he saw through James from the start.
His instinct was the beacon, really. His trust in what he felt, even when his mom doubted him, is remarkable.
It really highlights why we shouldn't just dismiss those gut feelings, especially from kids, maybe. They don't have all the adult filters.
Exactly. They often perceive things much more clearly.
So this whole deep dive into don't let him in, it really reminds us. And we lock our doors against strangers.
Right. But sometimes the real threats are the ones we unknowingly welcome inside.
It leaves you with this kind of provocative thought, doesn't it? Beyond the obvious red flags, the really big warning signs, how do we actually learn to listen to that quieter voice?
That persistent intuition, even when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Even when it challenges the story we want to believe about our lives, about the people in them. What little clues might we be missing in just our everyday interactions?
And how do we find the courage to actually acknowledge them? That's the